We have Super Sadiq Yusuff versus Edson Barboza. This is going to be a really fun fight. I think that even though it could look like kind of a random main event, right? That the UFC probably didn't have many other options for this. I think that it's actually pretty cool because I mean, Super Sadiq Yusuff, he hasn't fought in a long time, and it's gonna be cool to kind of see him in there because he's one of my favorite fighters to kind of watch just because of his style in a way. But anyways, Sadiq Yusuff, 13-2, 4-1 in his last five, 30 years old, 5'9", 71-inch reach, fighting against Edson Barboza, 23-11, 3-2 in his last five, coming off of that really good win against Billy Q, where he knocked him out with that knee. 37 years old, 5'11", 75-inch reach, so he is the slightly longer fighter and taller fighter here. Um, as far as the odds, just to tell you, is minus 161 right now. Sadiq Yusuff is minus 161, opened up at a minus 200. So people did take some of that dog money on Edson Barboza there. Um, I'll also kind of flip it back to you, just kind of hear your thoughts on the main event first. What do you think about this main event here before I give my thoughts?
I think Sadiq Yusuff, he's he's well-rounded everywhere. I think he's solid everywhere in terms of stand-up grappling, decent defense. Um, one of the fights that I was watching, Yusuff versus Arnold Allen, I think he does have a tendency to kind of be too cautious at times and start slow and be more calculated in the early rounds. Um, you see him kind of reacting kind of slow as well against Arnold Allen's striking early on, and then he seemed like he was susceptible to that head kick against Arnold Allen, which kind of wobbled him as well. But he came on pretty strong in the third round, and to me, Yusuf kind of seems like he's probably a better 5 round fighter than a 3 round fighter, I believe. Even though in his last fight he finished a guy in 30 seconds with a guillotine, so he'll obviously have
Dog
the
strikes.
grappling advantage over Barbosa. Like, yeah, that was real quick.
That's a can.
Um,
That was a can.
yeah, as a kid,
That
as a
dude did
kid,
not look like he was
yeah.
in the UFC.
Usually Yusuf starts off kind of slow at
Yeah.
first and like be efficient, but he was like, "Oh, this is easy, easy work. This is easy work, and no respect. Just let me just get this, get this dub real quick." Uh, but yeah, he this fight he's facing a dude who's not a can. He just finished the guy with a knee, and Billy Quarantillo, who is high pace and great great wrestling and just puts it on you. And Edson and his team was able to read the tendencies of Billy, and you saw the outcome there. He's just finished with a clean knee that he said he's been working on throughout the entire camp, just knowing that he's going to do that. So in this fight, I see why there was dog money that went into hard onto Barbosa, because they saw the same uh, vulnerabilities on Sadiq Youssef that a pristine hicker like Edson Barbosa and striker can find find home on Youssef's head, whether it's a knee or boxing, striking. So it's definitely possible. It's there. Youssef can be hittable if he's not all the way cautious and uh, disciplined in his defense. Um, mm, yeah, Barbosa. This is probably going to be this will be the best kicks that Sodiq Yusuff has seen in his career, probably in a fight. So yeah, it makes sense why the dog money went there. Um, Sodiq Yusuff, I do think that he should get the win. He's years away from being 37, and a 37-year-old Barbosa in a 5-round fight. I'm not sure if that's like the best recipe for at this time of his career. Yusuff, on the other hand, I think he's actually will show that he's actually a better 5-round fighter than a 3-round fighter, and he might show some of his Usman
Hmm.
minus the duck and get head kick part.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I got Sodiq Yusuff here. Uh, Low confidence, but low to medium confidence here, 5-rounder. But Barbosa is live to find a find a vulnerability in terms of striking. So yeah, that's my pick.
Yeah, well said, man. For me, I'll just be really blunt. I think Sadiq Yusuf's gonna be my lock for this fight. All the and it's mainly because of the buy signals that, like I say, like I would like to say, that I see from this fight. I mean, Sadiq Yusuf, he hasn't fought since last year. I think his last fight was in last October against Don Shanis, that late notice guy that they found to just get subbed by him. So I think that a lot of people, are probably forgetting the of his run, right? Because he hasn't fought in a year. He's had some pretty good dubs in his career so far. I mean, he beat Andre Fili, beat Bruce Leroy, had a really close fight with Arnold Allen, even though he did lose a decision there. But if you just look at his record and some of the quality of opponents, I mean, it's pretty legit. I'm glad that you mentioned that aspect of, we might possibly see him incorporate a Marty Juiceman kind of game plan. I think Sadiq has some underrated grappling and underrated submission game too. Like you saw, I mean, he subbed Don Shannon pretty quick in 30 seconds. I think he was working on that. I think he's constantly improving. He's not just a stand-up fighter. I think he's going to try to prove that on Saturday. Edson Barboza. I mean, we all know who Edson is, right? I mean, UFC vet. He's fought the best of the best at lightweight. Now he's dropped down to featherweight at 145, and he's had some good victories. Has some close losses, but mainly, I mean, the drop to 145, in my opinion, has been kind of hit or miss for him. He started off like kind of losing to Dan Ige, beat Marquand Yermekani, who not even, I don't think he's in the UFC anymore, but that guy's just a one trick pony and he only has like one round to boot. So I think that was a really easy win for him. Got a good win over Shane Burgos, but I think Shane Burgos is kind of overrated, and you kind of see that because ever since Shane Burgos left the UFC, I think he got an L. So I don't think he's even UFC caliber. Then when he fought Giga Chikadze, who's fairly good striker in the 145 division, he got knocked out. He fought a guy like Bryce Mitchell, who's a really good grappler in 145, and he got UD'd. And he got outstruck by Bryce Mitchell in that fight. By the way, people are forgetting that, but I think Bryce Mitchell put him out in terms of knockdown. So just remember that too. Then when he fought Billy Q, I mean, I actually was on Edson in that fight because I mean I thought that the way Billy Q fights, right? I mean he's all pressure, all pace. He likes to pour in the volume in the later rounds, but he really kind of he weathers a lot of storms and takes a lot of damage, right? And I don't think you want to play that game plan against a guy like Edson Barboza, who is a really technical striker, really good kicks. Like if you just see a lot of his highlights, he has a lot of spinning kick highlights, flying knees. I mean, this guy is like really good kickboxer. But if you follow his career, I mean, the one surefire way to beat Edson Barboza is the grappling. I mean, you saw what Habib Nurmagomedov did. I mean, granted, that's Habib, right? But if you out grapple him, put a pace on him, he does kind of tend to wither a little bit. So I think that Sadiq is gonna start off the fight kickboxing or whatnot, but I think eventually he's gonna actually use some grappling in this fight and kind of try to show off some of his newfound skills that I think he's been keeping under wraps for about a year right now. So really interesting here, but I think Sadiq by submission at plus 450, I think that could be a decent play there because just to let you know, this fight, in terms of goes the distance, they think that it's a no at minus 250. So They think that if this fight's going to be finished within like 3.5 rounds or so, and I think that Sadiq might find the submission here or the knockout, obviously. But I think that that submission could be something that could be a good play. So
Hmm.
once again, I mean, Sadiq, good kickboxer, but I think he's gonna try to pull out like a Marty Usman kind of play and use that physicality that he has. Because if you do look at his body type, look at his kind of his physical attributes, I mean, he's going to be the shorter, stockier guy here. So I think that he might use that leverage kind of advantage that he has against Edson to kind of take him down, push him against the cage, maybe do some like dirty clinching, and he won't allow Edson to kind of do those crazy flying stuffs or like spinning techniques and really kind of ground Edson in a way. So I'm looking at Sadiq kind of putting his statement right here and kind of showing the division that hey, he's here, he's in his prime, and he's ready to make a run at the next guys in the rankings after Edson Barboza. And also Edson Barboza, I mean, he's coming off of that highlight win, right? Highlight kind of knee against Billy Quarantino, and I always just kind of like to fade fighters who come off a highlight like that because that's the last thing that people remember, and people probably don't remember how good Sadiq Yusuff actually is and how much of a prime fighter he is right now. So, pick is going to be Sadiq Yusuff. I would be comfortable putting him in a parlay personally, even if he opened up at -200, now he's -161. So people did get the dog money on Edson Barboza, but yeah, I'm going full send on Sadiq here.